Thank you so much. And I just declare that we'll stop here. The program ends here and we'll move on to our next program. Thank you so much once again. Thank you all
Bye.
the participants. Yeah.
Bye, ma'am.
Yeah.
Bye. मैम आप बोलेंगे कुछ?
नीलजीत, अभी ये प्रोग्राम खत्म हो गया है. We are going to start our next program. So you have to attend our next program.
ठीक है मैम. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah.
मैं फिर बार लिंक शेयर कर दूँ.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the last session of Mental Health Awareness Week. Today's discourse is on the healthy mind platter. We know that mental health is an essential part of overall health, and when a child or youth is mentally healthy, they are more equipped to learn and reach their full potential. Before we go further, few housekeeping rules to put forward. Your active participation is important throughout the session, but right now, everyone is on mute mode to avoid background noises that may distract you from listening to the speaker. But you may hand down your questions and comment in the chat box throughout the presentation. Please ensure that you fill the feedback form at the end of the session. Now, let's work against the clock, and I invite our officer in charge, Mr. T. Mugesh, for his opening remarks on the discourse theme. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Am I audible and visible, Ms. Sucharita? Can you confirm? Okay. So, once again, good evening to everyone. We are just completing one panel discussion. We are swiftly moving on to the other program. So, as told by Ms. Sucharita in the beginning, so we are having a series of talks under online discourse right from 5th, and today is going to be the last talk. And rightfully, we are culminating on a topic or a theme that is healthy mind platter. In fact, mental health is the most important aspect of everyone's life, and then we run from pillar to pole to find out solutions, find out support systems. But this reset concept as basically emphasizing on having a specific set of activities is something like a diet, kind of a nutrient which all should be keeping in our day-to-day life, so that whatever the mental health issues we come across, there we will be able to develop an inbuilt mechanism to cope up with such issues then and there. Actually, this reminds me something by name called sensory diet. See, normally what we do is when it comes to children with autism who have sensory issues, uh, we prescribe them something called as a sensory diet, okay, which helps them to cope up with their sensory issues. Likewise, this mental health platter is a set of activities which every one of us should be following in our day-to-day life, so that most of the mental health issues that comes from within can be reasonably countered with, and we can come out successful. So that is the theme, and that is the idea of today's talk. And for this talk, we have with us Dr. Sumona, who is a HOD and assistant professor of Adams University. So I'm pretty sure that, like all these 4 days, this session also will be very good and enlightening and kind of interactive one. And we are really thankful for Dr. Sumona for accepting our invitation and being part of us. And I also thank all the participants who have been continuously patronizing our program and who are on dot by 4 o'clock. I expect the bells ringing and people are getting in. In fact, like I was a little skeptical that today 2, 3 programs and 2 programs are kind of overlapping. In fact, like I was having my own jitters, like how it is going to go, but you all are there on time. So that shows like how this program is being pursued by everyone. That in fact stands as a testimony for how good or like these resource persons are, how good the contents are, and how you all find it meaningful and useful. So thank you so much for that patronage, and I thank the resource person also for being with us. And without taking much of your time, let's move on to the program. Now I request Ms. Sucharita to give a brief introduction about the resource person, and from there on we can get into the theme. Thank you, and over to you, Ms. Sucharita.
Thank you, sir. I take this pleasure to introduce Dr. Shumana Dotto, who is one of my favorite person in personal and official also. So I take this pleasure once again to introduce ma'am. Dr. Shumana Dotto is an assistant professor and head of the Department of Behavioral Science at Adams University, Kolkata. Dr. Dotto did her post-graduation from the University of Calcutta with specialization in clinical psychology. She qualified for UGC NET in 2012 and was awarded the prestigious Junior Research Fellowship from Indian Statistical Institute in 2013. Dr. Dotto pursued her PhD work at Indian Statistical Institute as a research fellow of Psychology Research Unit, Indian Statistical Institute from 2013 to 2019. And has obtained her PhD from the Department of Psychology, University of Calcutta. She has several publications in both national and international journals. She is the Honorary Secretary of Bangladesh Psychometric Society and Honorary Member of Research Advisory Board of Indian Institute of Psychometry. Dr. Dotto has delivered several lectures and facilitated workshops both in India and abroad. Her research interest lies in cognitive psychology and psychometry. I welcome you, ma'am, for this 1-hour session on the healthy mind platter. We are eagerly waiting to listen what should be the mental diet or the mental nutrition for building a healthy mind. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much, Mukesh sir, for inviting me and giving me this opportunity. So I hope I'm audible and visible to all of you.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So as we know, like around the globe, actually, I think everywhere in India, at least everywhere, we are celebrating the World Mental Health Day. In our university, also, we had a number of programs organized to celebrate this day. The most important aspect here is that earlier psychologists had to spend a lot of time to think about how to prevent the mental disorders, right? But if from the 1990s onwards, the shift has completely gone to now how to promote mental health. Okay, so this topic that on which I'm going to talk about in today's session is very much related to how we can promote mental health. What can be the best practices that we can do, and I got to know that there are many students present here in this session. So I'll be in. I would definitely expect that all of you will be interacting. So just to begin with, the students, specifically to the students who are present here, please make your presence felt. Can you please raise your hands and wave? Yes, yes. Good, good. Hello, everyone. Very lovely. Yes, thank you, thank you. It's good to know you all. All right, all right. Okay, thank you very much. So yes, I'm also getting some messages. Yes, you can also write it down in the chat box if you have any question, if you have any, anything to add, anything to say, whatever. You can always, write it down in the chat box so that I get to know. So thank you all. All right. So I hope all of you are there with me for this session now, and let me share my screen with you all now. Okay, so is my screen visible to all of you?
Yes, it is visible.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you. All right. Before going into the details of this, okay, just let me. I'm just switching off my camera because it might cause interruptions during the presentation. So pardon. Okay. Before going for the presentation, I would just like to know from all of you, who are the ones who just love to eat or leave for eating, basically the foodies, basically. A lot of people are there. You can write it down in the chat box, or you can raise your hands as well. That will also do, and I'll get to know. Yes, yes. Okay, okay. Good, good. Very good. Very good. So we have a lot of foodies here present. Very good. So let me just tickle your, yeah, delicious food, right? That's a visual treat, by the way, to all of you. Visual treat only. Well, lovely dishes, mouth-watering dishes, right? And I guess most of you are actually fond of this kind of food, right? But you see, if we consider each of these components specifically, you will probably you will agree with me that if we keep on eating each of these kind of food on a daily basis, in a few days time obesity will be knocking at your door, and you are going to face lot of other physical problems as well, right? So normally what we do, we on a weekly basis, maybe we can have 1 or 2 cheat days where we are allowed to take this kind of indulgences, but on the other days, we tend to follow a healthy diet, right? So a healthy diet, which is actually a combination of all the minerals, carbohydrates, fats, vitamins, lots and lots of water, proteins, all of these taken together, right? And this ensures that our muscles grow well, and we are able to function very well, we are energetic, all our hormone levels and everything stays well, right? So this actually helps us to make to be strong and healthy, right? So you take this kind of healthy food and you feel strong, healthy, very good. That is the most desirable one, right? But what about the brain health? Have you ever thought about this? Like, enough is there about the physical health. You have a balanced diet you can follow, you can have a lot of other exercises which you can do for your physical health, maintain the physical, physically you can maintain your muscle built, and all those things you can do. But what about the brain health? Have we thought about it? Well, it is important to consider that the brain, as you can see here, different lobes are there, right? It is also made up of tissues, okay? And it is also important that we do some kind of exercises or some kind of activities to keep our brain alert and have a creative mind. So for physical strength we do a lot of exercises, but that is not equal to the kind of exercises that we need actually for our brain to be alert and to have a creative mind, because the brain's anatomy and physiology is fundamentally different from those of the body muscles, right? There are lots and lots of differences, and it's a complete different thing that we have to do if we are thinking about the brain's health overall, right? So what do we do about it? Do we really do anything about it on a daily basis? Rather, we actually indulge into some unhealthy diet of the brain. Which are these unhealthy diets? You can see the pictures I have put in here. These are some of the unhealthy kind of diets that we indulge in on a daily basis. Too much of work, too much of stress, too much of junk food, too much of mobile usage. There can be like too much of caffeines, which is very common for people who are in the workplaces, and so many other things, other activities in which we are almost all the time we are engaged in on a daily basis, right? And what are the outcomes of such kind of an unhealthy diet for the brain? Massive loss in productivity. So at the end of the day you might be working for the entire day, but at the end of the day the productivity is close to zero, right? Burnout, severe burnouts can be there. In some professions it is very, very common, you will find. Excessive stress, okay, which can even take a toll on your physical health as well. Negative thoughts at the thought process level, we might be having negative thoughts because of all these kind of indulgences. And also psychopathology, right, which is very much related to the stress. Excessive stress can actually lead to such kind of a consequence, right? So what can be done at this stage? As I said, as I mentioned, that from 90s onwards, when positive psychology actually gained a lot of momentum, the shift has now gone into rather than on prevention of mental disorders, it has now gone to now promotion of positive mental health, right? So when we are talking about these different outcomes, we have to think, we have to know that the when we are talking about the maintaining or promoting positive mental health, what are the different activities which we can do in order to ensure that, right? So this is where the healthy mind platter comes in. All right. And it's a brilliant idea which was put forward by David Rock and Daniel Siegel in 2012. Now, it might occur to you that what is so brilliant about it? Because, you can see the names which are there, the components of the healthy mind platter: sleep time, physical time, focus time, time in, downtime, all those things. It's if you look at it, apparently it might seem to you that it is nothing. It is it's fine. We, all of us, we know that we need to sleep, we need to do exercise and all those things. What's so special about it? Well, what they have proposed in their theory is that all these different components are related to our brain. These are the neurocognitive activities which we need to do actually on a daily basis to actually help our brain health, right? So let's look into this, the healthy mind platter for optimal brain matter. And there are 7 components actually. You see, sleep time, playtime, time in, downtime, connecting time, physical time, and focus time. So now we are going to look into each of these separately, right? What are these? What they actually, how they have actually conceptualized each of these components. And let me tell you, from the conception of this particular theory, there have been lots of researches which were conducted to find out how these different activities, they can actually promote mental health, right? So first comes the sleep time, which they have suggested, the researchers, they have suggested that the kind of functions that the sleep time does for us, based on research, it has been found that it's very important for homeostatic restoration. For those who are not aware of what is homeostatic restoration, is when our body tries to get back to a optimal state, basically, right? So all kinds of wear and tear and injuries, or some kind of deprivation, biological deprivation, anything that is there, it can be restored during the sleep time. All right. Kindly mute yourself. Okay, thank you. Thermoregulation. Next, thermoregulation is when we are talking about regulation of temperature, body temperature. All right. Tissue repair, immunity, all these are the physical processes that takes place, the biological mechanisms through which these are restored. And at the psychological level, the sleep time is very, very important for memory processing and emotional regulation, right? How does it happen? So it has been found that when someone is sleeping, I guess many of you must be knowing that there are different stages of sleep, right? There are certain stages which are known as the rapid eye movement sleep, REM sleep, and there are certain stages which comes under the non-REM sleep, right? And each of these sleep
হ্যালো
stages are actually.
হ্যালো ম্যাডাম, সাউন্ডটা ক্লিয়ার হচ্ছে না ওদিক থেকে? হ্যালো,
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Am I audible? Okay, then I guess you are having some problems with your network. Kindly check. Okay. So yeah. So when we are talking about the different sleep stages, there are different kind of brain waves which are generated during these sleep stages. There are certain slow wave sleep stages. There are certain stages where the waves are quite faster, specifically during the REM sleep, where you will observe faster frequencies of the sleep pattern, or the waves which are there. And during this stage, it happens that a coordination occurs between the hippocampus, which is the memory center of the brain, and thalamus, specifically the amygdala of the thalamus, which is responsible for emotional regulation. All right, and there is lot of information exchange between these different parts with the neocortex areas, and these actually play a role in memory processing as well as emotional regulation, right? And maybe some of you know that in memory processing also there is one stage which we call the memory consolidation, right? The long term potentiation, the mechanism of long term potentiation during memory consolidation, which helps us to learn new things. So whenever we are learning something new, it is very, very important that this memory consolidation occurs during our sleep time, right? And this actually helps us to integrate all kinds of disparate information that is there. Okay, so we have different kinds of information in front of us, and we can actually integrate all of those. Actually, it takes place, it's an automatic process that takes place during sleep, and sometimes it happens that when you are awake you will find that the solution is right in front of you, right? It's also related to dreaming. Okay, and it has been found that actually during the REM sleep, it has been found that mostly the dreams take place, and dreams can be actually bizarre, it can be weird, it can be extremely emotional, and creative also sometimes. But all these mechanism actually ensures that the information is integrated in a much better way. So that that kind of this activities actually uh, plays an important, very important role in memory processing and emotional regulation, right? So
Shivana
if there
ma'am,
is a
sorry
sleep,
for the interruption. Your slide is not visible because someone might have shared in between.
okay, so let me share it again. I hope it is visible now.
Yes, now it is visible. Thank you.
Yeah, so we had discussed till here, right? So if there is a sleep deprivation, there is another, this is another proof that why we need this kind of an activity, why it is so important to have this component in our mental health platter, because sleep deprivation is associated with deficits in cognitive and emotional processing during wakefulness, unregulated emotional expression, and exhaustion, right? So there are ample proofs, and several researchers have been done to look for this kind of evidence for this kind of hypothesis, and it has been proved actually. So what is the right amount of sleep that we need, right? It has been found that if we look at the average sleep duration of the entire population, you will find that it actually tends to follow a normal curve, bell curve, okay, in the population. And you can see that right at the middle, you have, most of the individuals who actually has got a need of 7 to 9 hours of sleep at least on a daily basis, right? So that's the majority. Apart from this, it is also recommended that if you can take brief naps in between, which actually can boost the cognitive performance and alertness for you. And there is a very significant research which was done by Brooks and Lack in 2006, and they tested what is the correct amount of or optimal amount of brief nap which someone can take, and they found that 10 minutes nap is actually the most effective kind of nap that one can take in between, right? So I guess many of you must, maybe remembering this person, Boman Irani, right, from the movie Three Idiots. I think most of you have watched this movie, isn't it? So, Mr. Professor Sahasrabuddhi, and they actually showed that he used to take this nap of 7 minutes in between. Uh, during the afternoon, when he would take a shave so that no time is lost. So it was only a brief nap of 7 minutes, right? So although they had actually put in as just to add humor component to their movie, but it is actually very, very scientific. And in Japan, you will find that it is actually a official practice which they do. Right, all their employees across the different offices, they actually get a breaks of very short period of time to take this kind of brief naps, and they have actually researched and found that this boosts our cognitive performance and alertness overall. Right, so this is why sleep is there as the first component of this platter. Second component is the playtime, the joy that we associate with play, and it has been referred to as the experience expectant process. Means it is not something that we learn. When someone is playing with the other person, that person need not learn many things to start the play, right? It is much more based on the experience itself, and it has been found that the joy that we associate with the play actually leads to adaptive neurodevelopmental effects, okay, and that in turn promotes behavior and help program higher brain regions. All right, when we consider all these things together, you get that a person with this kind of a play joy is more probable to attain the social, emotional and cognitive milestones, and is better able to manage emotions and become resilient overall. All right, and this is not about children. Although I have given here the image of of children playing together, because it's very it's considered very, very important for the developmental periods. In fact, it has been found very recently, it has been found that if you look into the research on ADHD, it has been found that probably this is one reason that these days these children, the preschool children, since they are not getting very very good opportunities to go out and play with the other kids, they are developing this kind of a problem. Okay, and there is another very, very interesting research which was done by a psychiatrist actually, Stuart Brown, and he found that among murderers, okay, 26 murderers, 90% of them, they had a history of deprivation of play. Okay, so that explains the neurocognitive role of playtime that is there for all of us, and it is applicable for our adult population as well, right? One thing which you will be able to associate here is that all of them, all these pictures you see, people are smiling, they are laughing, okay, and it's a very common practice, isn't it? So what happens, when someone is playing with the other person, and in the process they are enjoying the process, they are laughing it out, how does it actually help the brain? It has found that this stimulates our brain's reward center. Okay, the reward center, which is actually made up of the nucleus accumbens, then amygdala, hippocampus. All these areas are considered to be the brain's reward center. Okay, and once this reward center is activated or is stimulated in the process of the play, what happens? It leads to the release of dopamine. Okay, we know that dopamine is a common neurohormone, and it is very much associated with creativity and learning. All right. So and this is empirically established, this relationship. All right. So this is how play, actually the play joy can be associated with the brain health directly. All right. Next comes the downtime. I have shared here two pictures, and I'm sure that most of you have actually experienced this kind of a thing, right? Sitting somewhere ideally and just doing nothing at all, just looking at your surrounding, or some thoughts are just coming and going by and all those things. So basically this is the art of doing nothing. All right. And downtime is the component which they have described as a component where there is actually a disconnection happens from the surrounding, which actually leads to some kind of integration and the insight that comes in. All right. So they have the researchers, they have highly promoted downtime as a particular kind of an activity that promotes our integration and insight. All right. So it can be associated with it is actually a process where we are disconnected from the intended directions, and simply we surrender to daydreaming, letting our minds wander off in no particular direction with spontaneity and freedom. So detachment should be there, distraction should be there, and daydreaming. And no goals, no planning, no intentions, being spontaneous. So that's how it is different from many other activities which we will be discussing in the course of time. So downtime is something, when we are saying that doing nothing means it is in reality you should not be doing anything at a particular moment, right? You should not be having some kind of a goal, some kind of a planning, some kind of an intention. So if you are just sitting by and with an intention of looking at something, then that is not downtime, that is probably relaxation that you are doing. But downtime is just when you just being spontaneous, you are just giving into daydreaming. And it has been empirically established that daydreaming is high among people who are intelligent, and intelligence actually has been associated with daydreaming, right? Why? Because this particular kind of a process actually actually helps us to detach ourselves from the reality, and this detachment enables us to process the information in a much better way. And it has been found that people who are more into daydreaming, they are able to make very good decisions, they are very good decision makers, they are at a better position to integrate information in a much better way, right? So how is that possible? Because you see, when we give into daydreaming, or in their language, downtime, the default mode network of our brain becomes activated. All right. So what is this default mode network? See, in our if we consider the networks of our brain, there are specifically, you can be categorized into two different kinds of network. One is the attentional network, where we are actually engaged into something, and we are attending to something, we are focusing on to something, and a particular region of the brain is activated at that point. When we are doing nothing at all right, we are just being spontaneous. At that particular time, the default mode network, or it is also sometimes known as the task negative network, becomes activated. And this includes the regions of inferior parietal cortex and posterior cingulate cortex, precuneus, medial prefrontal cortex, anterior cingulate cortex, medial temporal lobe. All these different areas becomes activated. Okay, and what do they do actually? The benefit here is that an activation of this network leads to sorting of disparate elements of the mind, which leads to the integration of information. It helps into the complex decision making, as I mentioned, and it also helps into integrating our memory. Right. So these are the benefits of the downtime as a component of the mental or the healthy mind platter. Right. The next component is the time in. The fourth component, that's the time in. So time in is actually it includes the reflection, relaxation, mindfulness, all these things taken together. Okay, relaxation is when we have decreased sympathetic activation. We know that when we have increased sympathetic activation, it is that, or what happens, we tend to go into an state of urgency. Our biological processes go into a state of urgency, right? Relaxation is when we have a decreased activation of the sympathetic system, right? Then progressive muscle relaxation, that is another component of this, and it can also include our meditation. So meditation, as we know, it is an intentional self-regulation of attention in the service of self-inquiry in the here and now. So it is a particular kind of a activity where we are focusing intentionally, we are focusing our attention into self-regulation, into self-inquiry. All right. So this is where the time in actually differs from downtime. You see, in downtime, no goal, no planning, no focus, nothing. Just being spontaneous. Here we are intentionally focusing. We are intentionally planning. Okay, to self-regulate our intention, our attentional process. Right. Similarly, mindfulness includes paying attention in a particular way on process in the present moment and non-judgmentally becoming aware and accepting thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations. So these two are quite close to each other, and as you know, sometimes mindfulness is also used as a form of meditation sometimes in certain cases. So the reason being that the kind of purpose which these two different kinds of activities serve are more or less the same thing, where we are able to focus our attention in a particular way, right? So what kind of changes can we see in when we are talking about time in? You see, I have put here an image of how the activities of the brain, the heat maps of the brain has changed from when someone is doing meditation for some time. You see, in the first picture before the meditation, you can see this red patches here, which actually shows lot of activities going on at this part of the brain. But once the meditation is done, the brain actually comes down. So it comes down, it actually plays the role of calming down the overactivity that is going on inside our brain for a long period of time. And this kind of an activity, the mindfulness meditation, it actually activates the prefrontal cortex and the anterior cingulate cortex, and it enhances the cerebral areas related to attention and emotion regulation, and overall it helps to reduce the clinical and non-clinical problems ranging from pain, heart disease, depression, anxiety, and stress. I'm sure all of you know the huge benefits of meditation that are there, and these days it's a emerging trend of research in psychology actually, right? The next component, the fifth one, is the connecting time. Okay, connecting time, they have described in the model of the healthy mind platter, it is described as the healing power of relationships. So you have the social support, you have the satisfying relationships, and these actually lead to positive outlooks on life, more secure attachments and interactions with others, more flexible autonomic activation when confronting acute psychological challenges, and more efficient restorative behaviors. Okay, so these are the benefits of connecting time. When you are interacting with your family members, your close relationships, it can be a friend, it can be a partner, it can be a family member, whoever. And how does it do all these things? It has been found that when someone is spending more time into connection or connecting, what happens is that oxytocin is released in the brain. Okay, and oxytocin is another such kind of a neurohormone which reduces our anxiety and impacts on fear conditioning and extinction. All right, so the amygdala is activated, and it actually helps us to regulate our emotion in a much better way, right? The sixth component being the physical time, as in whatever kind of exercise that you can think of. All right, and all of us, we know the huge benefits of exercise, not only for the physical health, maintaining physical health, but it has been found that exercise actually has got a lot of benefits for the brain tissues as well. All right, so it helps to achieve and maintain brain health and plasticity throughout the life. So plasticity is not only related to the developmental period that we know of, but for the entire period of entire life that we have, it helps to maintain that kind of a plasticity. It is associated with enhanced metabolism of energy throughout the body. It enhances learning and memory, improves the executive functions, inhibits the inappropriate behavior and focus despite distractions, reduces stress, decreases anxiety, and alleviates depression. All right, so these are the benefits of having physical time in your platter. And let's see what kind of effects it has on the brain. So this is a depiction of how the brain activities can change after one is doing some kind of an exercise. So you see how the heat map can change, and it has been found that different kind of exercises actually has got different kind of effects on different parts of the brain. So for example, if someone is lifting weights, it actually works on the prefrontal cortex, and it we know that the prefrontal cortex responsible for complex thinking, reasoning, multitasking, problem solving, all those kind of things. If someone is doing yoga, it actually works on the frontal lobe as a whole. Insula, which is responsible for integrating thoughts and emotions. It also works on our amygdala, which is responsible for our fear, anxiety, all these very, very basic kind of emotions that we have. All right. If someone is going for high intensity intervals of exercise, that actually works on the hypothalamus of our brain, which is important for not only for appetite regulation, for n number of other very, very important functions of the brain, right? Thirst motivation, hunger motivation, thermoregulation, all those things. If someone is engaged in some kind of sports drills, that is having effect on the prefrontal cortex, having an effect on the basal ganglia, which is again responsible for attention, switching between tasks, inhibition, all those kind of activities. It also has effect on the parietal lobe, which is responsible for visual spatial processing and movements. Okay, Also, cerebellum is coming under the effect of such kind of sports drills. And for light aerobic exercise, the hippocampus is affected in such a case. Okay, so this is how this actually tells us how each of these different kinds of exercises, physical exercises, can actually have differential effect on the different brain areas, right? And this is how you can actually maintain the brain health along with your physical health, right? Finally, the focus time. Focus time is the time that we're able to focus, stay focused, and refocus efficiently and effectively. Okay, so focusing attention actually involves several functions, including alerting, orienting, and execute control. And it has been found that when we are focusing specifically on one particular task, it has a very important or very intense influence on the prefrontal cortex of our brain. And the prefrontal cortex is actually responsible for n number of very, very important functions, including the working memory, which is involved in organizing and structuring information, remembering self, creating images of the possible future, for consequences of consequence evaluation, long-term planning, decision making, judgment, processes for monitoring behavior, inhibiting prepotent responses, including emotion regulation, self-observation, all those things, right? So you can imagine what kind of a important role that the focus time is actually playing. And it includes focusing attention, staying focused, and refocusing. So it is different from multitasking. Multitasking is something which is actually debilitating because it leads us to feel overwhelmed with lot of work, and also at the end of it we feel incomplete, that whenever we are multitasking, so many tasks at hand and you are not able to complete each one of them. But when you're focusing on one particular aspect, one particular task at a time, it gives you this feeling of completeness. So it involves your selective attention process, when you are attending specifically on a particular task, staying focused, that is your sustained attention, and refocusing. If there is any kind of distraction, you are able to refocus it, right? So these are the most important functions, neurocognitive functions or roles which each of these components play, and that is why these are included in our healthy mind platter. So in summary, I would just like to emphasize on the 7 components again, that is sleep time, physical time, focus time, connecting time, time in, downtime, and playtime. And each of these, as I mentioned, is directly connected to the brain, the functions, brain functionalities, the activations of the different brain areas, and it has its own impact on the functional aspects of our behavior. All right, so nurture your brain by following all these different activities which we talked about, which are included in the healthy mind platter. And one easy way of doing it is that if you can keep a track of how much time you are spending for sleeping, how much time you are going for a downtime, how much time you are giving for focusing, and across all these 7 different activities, across the 7 days of your week. All right, so you can prepare that kind of a schedule for yourself and try doing it, because only by doing this you can promote your mental health. You can give your brain the kind of balanced diet that it needs, and prevent all kinds of psychopathologies. So thank you all for your patient listening. Thank you again, and if you have any question, please feel free to ask.
Thank you, Shimona ma'am. The session is open for question and answer. One question has already come, like refresh brain and behave. Okay, it's a comment. Okay. Another, I would like to ask you a question like, what is the effect of social media on sleep pattern, especially during the COVID period when people are confined at home?
Yes, that is a very very important question. Thank you for asking. Can you please mute all of you? Mute yourself. Yeah. Okay. Yes, social media. That is what we talked about. When we are going for these different kinds of activities, it is important that we promote sleep. But you would find that if you are in the social media, if you are on the social media for a long period of time, just before sleeping, what happens is that it actually has got a you know um, you might be switching off your mobile phone, but at the same time you would find that some kind of restlessness will be going on. So it is not only because of the social media, but also the blue screen which is there. It has been found that for sleeping well, there are certain conditions, and one of those conditions is that you should be away from those kind of blue screens just before sleeping. It should be avoided. So social media, definitely so much of information coming in, it actually overwhelms our brain processes. And after a while it happens that uh, you know uh, you just keep on looking at the screen blankly. So I remember that probably I was during this COVID time only, I got this kind of a message on Facebook, I think. And there some person had actually mentioned in a humorous way, of course, that other people in China, Chinese people, they are having some food, and they are doing some kind of cooking and weird kind of things, and I'm just looking at it at 2 a.m. in the morning. So what am I actually doing? Right. So that is the kind of problem. Sleep is, as I mentioned, all the sleep waves that are involved. Okay, when we are trying to sleep, what happens is that slowly and gradually we go into deeper sleep, and the sleep waves, those become slower and slower. But when we are too much into social media, too much of information right before sleeping, it helps it actually inhibits us, our brain, to go into that kind of a deep sleep. So that inhibits, and you, although you are trying to sleep, but you will be still having very fast and frequent waves, just like wakefulness, and that actually causes the trouble. Okay, so that is one problem that we have during this. So thank you for asking this question. It's very pertinent question at this moment. So other questions, I can see the chat. So
Yes, there are many questions. So I think you can
okay,
go
okay.
through the chat. Yeah, you can take up one by one. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I can find one question here. I suffer from irregular sleep pattern. Even I sleep on time, I wake up in the middle and can't sleep again. What should I do? All right. There can be several reasons why you are having the irregular sleep pattern. If it is, if it has started after the pandemic, then you got to blame the pandemic, where social isolation and all those things. Because you see, whenever we are trying to sleep, as I showed you, that the optimal amount of sleep that we need per night is on an average 7 to 9 hours, and for most people it stays at between 7 to 8 hours per night, right? Per day, basically. So if you are oversleeping at other times of the day, it might cause a problem. All right. There are other issues as well. You have to ensure these different conditions before going for sleep. As I mentioned, one is, for example, to avoid blue screen right before sleeping. Then our sleep actually is initiated only after our body temperature goes down to an optimal level, right? So that should also be ensured. So these are some of the conditions which are important, provided the fact that you are not having some other kind of problems, like you are being anxious about a particular a particular situation in your life and all those things. All right, so please look into all these things. Try to look at all those flags which might be uh, acting negatively in this case. If you are unable to find it, please consult someone who can help you with that. All right. um, how do we make playtime more productive for a 3-year-old at home, as these kids cannot go out and mix with their peers? Yeah, it's a very, very difficult situation. And the best answer that I can give at this moment is that try spending more time with them. That will help. Okay. Try spending as much as time with them. Try to keep them engaged in some kind of physical activities. And one thing that has happened during this pandemic is that many parents have I have come across this kind of cases where they are saying that they are giving the mobile phones to their children. So that's the worst kind of thing that one can be doing for infants specifically, because it can have all those kind of information, visual information, all at the same time, can have a very debilitating effect on the brain development of this children, right? So that should be avoided. And try to also, instead of going for the mobile phones, video games and cartoons, all those things, try to be more bring in more activities, play activities which involve physical activities, right? Like playing hide and seek at home with the child. That's a very, very popular kind of a game which anyone would enjoy. All right. So even if it is for 30 minutes per day, that will at least give them the kind of brain stimulation which they need at that particular age. So this is what we call the cognitive stimulation. So cognitive stimulation is very important for any kind of brain development for these children, right? So that will, even if it is for 30 minutes, just try to do that. All right. Okay, then how to develop patience and silence? Okay, how to develop patience and silence? Well, it's a matter of practice actually. What you can do is that delayed gratification kind of a thing is, as I mentioned, it's a matter of practice. So you can try to self-regulate, self-monitor it. How frequently you are going for it, or how you can actually avoid it. If you can control it to some extent, and let me tell you, it does not happen in one single day. It will never happen like that. So if you are certain that you are decided that you want to develop your patience, you have to bring that kind of a practice in your everyday life. All right. Try to self monitor. That will actually help you. Okay. And also this downtime which I mentioned, if that you can practice, that will also help you. Okay. Can we call time in to be sort of introspection? Yes. Okay, you worked under Adamus. All right, good, very good to know. So yes, timing is definitely one sort of introspection where we are going for a self-reflection kind of an activity. Okay. Okay, mentally healthy, they're getting too much cranky these days. Yeah, I think I have mentioned. But the screen time, if it can be reduced to some extent, if you can make it possible. All right. So even I'm not talking about the children. Even if for the university students here, we actually made a decision to reduce the screen time by giving them more of activities, more of activity oriented assignments, where they will be engaged in the academics, but in a much more applied way. Okay, where they are learning through their experiences, through their applications. So if that can be done, if please try to do that, so that will actually give them the opportunity to learn. At the same time, this experience will actually help them to learn something beyond the classroom as well. Okay, and please do spend time with them. It's very important that children get this kind of a time with their parents. Okay, parents, siblings, or family members, whoever there are, please spend time with them as much as possible. Okay, so thank you for your appreciations. Okay, there is another question. Please explain role of innovative method of play therapy with mental health state. Well, I'm not an expert in play therapy, so I will not be able to answer this question. I'm very sorry, but maybe if some other psychologist here who's an expert in play therapy, who is present in this session, can answer this question. How to regulate the sleep pattern of an autistic child who has an irregular sleeping pattern. Okay, there it is also something which is very, very customized, and as we know that for autistic children it is very difficult to uh, make them accustomed to uh, you know uh, this kind of a thing when they are having this kind of an irregular sleeping pattern. So it's better that if you can consult someone who is acquainted with your child, and who is able to understand why the child is having that kind of a problem. Okay, as I mentioned, there are several reasons. In autism is definitely one such case where the brain waves are the brain functions differently, so there is some inherent differentiations which you will find. But apart from that, if it has occurred suddenly, then what are or what can be the reason behind this event? So if that can be found. Okay. And autistic child. Okay, it's a same thing. In pandemic situation, even though we are dealing with autistic child, it's very important that as I mentioned, it's important that we spend time, more and more time with them, instead of giving them to the gadgets to them. That's the worst kind of thing that we can do during this particular situation. So more of activities which are dealing with solving puzzles, or those kind of activities which can actually stimulate the brain. So that will be much more healthier for them, healthier practice for them. All right, apart from the other regular things that you can do. Okay. Okay, these guys are unrelenting to leave mobiles and stuff. That is mostly because somehow they have got habituated. So either you need to substitute that kind of a practice with something else which is equally attractive, or try to regulate the practice in some possible way. For example, if the child is currently the child is having is taking the mobile and playing with it for maybe 1 hour a day, try to reduce the time duration slowly and gradually, so that it can come down to very little time. Do not just stop it abruptly. Try to reduce the timing, but that extra time, that try to substitute it with some other activities which might be helpful for them. For example, I was few months back, I was actually going through a video where I found that I think in some in abroad only, there was a parent who developed this the different kinds of video games and all those things which children are habituated to play in their mobile setups and all, there the person actually created all those kind of games in physical forms using paper models and some recycling wastages and all those things. And the children were not able to leave all those kind of games which their parent actually prepared for them. So if we can actually substitute that kind of an activity, then probably it will be helpful. Okay. Is there any kind of food related to our healthy brain platter? Well, healthy brain platter model does not mention anything about the food. Okay, so they appreciate the kind of healthy food that we know of or that we actually consider in our diet. But it is obvious that if we are not having a balanced diet, it can have debilitating effects on our physical health as well as our mental health, right? So no, not specifically food, specifically no food actually. Okay, how to reduce overthinking and negative thinking? All right. Again, overthinking, negative thinking, these are the unhealthy practices that we do, right? And it's a matter of concern. So overthinking, negative thinking, these are the faults in our thinking process that we have. So to reduce it, uh, I can say that if it is not very very debilitating or it is not leading to some kind of dysfunctions, then probably you can go for self regulation or self monitoring to reduce it. If it is not helping, please go for some kind of counseling, some kind of therapy which can help you with that. Specifically, the CBT and all those kind of therapies will actually those actually help in reducing this kind of overthinking and negative thinking practices. All right. So how to reduce the negative attitude? All right, by promoting positive practices, you can actually reduce this kind of negative attitude by promoting positive practices includes harnessing your the kind of hope, optimism, all those different components of our mental health, which can actually help us promote our positive mental health. So attitude is actually, you see, attitude is actually related to our cognitive it is inherently, it's cognitive in nature. It is related to our belief system. So in order to change our attitude, you also need to work upon your belief. Okay, so if someone is having a faulty belief system, dysfunctional beliefs are there, then the person is definitely going to have negative attitudes, right? So first we need to work on that particular area. All right. Okay. Someone working in night shift, is sleeping time will be affected? Yes, of course, of course. It's a kind of sleep deprivation that is happening. But yes, if someone is working in night shifts or on a regular basis for a long period of time, somehow the brain adapts to that kind of a thing. So we have this particular area of our brain which is responsible for initiating our sleep cycle, okay, which we call the ARAS, okay, and that is the arousal system of our brain, and it depends upon lot many factors. So if someone is doing a night shift on a regular basis, it happens that the brain tends to uh, adapt to that kind of a pattern. But if someone is doing night shift abruptly, not on a regular basis but abruptly, then definitely it is going to affect it to a large extent. And even you are having sleep deprivation for maybe a few hours only on a particular night, you will see the next day your sleep cycle is completely disturbed and you will be feeling sleepy for the entire day. So that is how it works. Okay. So yeah, I guess I have answered most of the questions. I don't know if I've missed. Um, yeah.
No, you have
Over to
answered
you.
all the questions. Yes, thank you so much. It was really nice. As you can see it from the chat box also, and I would like to say or brief you about your session from the verbatim of one of our students. She has said, like, thank you, Shumona ma'am, for this wonderful session. This is a very informative session for all of us. Your PPT is very attractive for me. I want to share a personal comment from myself. Ma'am, your PPT is very attractive. There is not only written part, but there are lots of picture which is related with the topic. I'm easily able to correlate with the topic through this picture. Thank you, ma'am, and happy puja. So I think that's give the feedback from that how well they have been able to relate with your talk to the daily life experiences that they undergo. And hopefully that it will help them to cherish or implement the 7 activities that have been laid by you, that we gave the topic as a healthy mind platter. They will be incorporating in their day-to-day activities so that they can promote by themselves a healthy mind, and they are the youth of our nation, and that is very important that they should have a healthy mind for a better future so that we also can have a better world, right? So thank you so much, Shumana ma'am, for being present with us, accepting our invitation, and giving us this wonderful, enlightening session. Thank you. It was very lovely being with you. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
I would request our officer in charge, Mr. T. Mukesh, to validate the session as we come to the end of the 5-day celebration of the Mental Health Awareness Week. So I request our officer in charge for his closing address.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Ms. Sucharita. Hope I'm audible. Yeah, so first I would like to thank today's speaker, Dr. Sumona, for taking a time out and then giving a very illustrative kind of a presentation. We all could connect to the topic very well. We all possibly aware of some of the other aspects of this. Out of 7, probably we all are familiar with a couple of things. The main issue comes in implementing. How to implement. Beautifully gave the description, and she has given us some practical tips also to how to cope up, especially in the COVID scenario. So for that, from the Niepid Regional Center, Kolkata, I extend our heartfelt thanks to Dr. Sumona. Not only Dr. Sumona, it is our duty to extend our gratitude to all other speakers also. So today, I would say, like today, it is a 7-item thali, and then all the 4 we are brought in this week, a 4-item thali. In fact, like we are planning to have 7 talks in this series, but because of certain unavoidable conditions, we missed out on 1 or 2 areas. But notwithstanding, we really feel contented and happy that we could do something. This mental awareness week. Of course, like usually we conduct other programs, competitions, and all, which also contribute for the awareness aspect. But this time we thought like we should try something different. We should try to offer people with some concepts, some innovative concepts, or some concepts which has been forgotten for quite some time. We wanted to remind them of those stuffs, and in fact, like we wanted to give them simple kind of concepts, like how we can self-manage our mental health issues, and how to sustain quality mental well-being. So we are really happy and contented from our point of view. Whatever we wanted to achieve, we delivered. We team. And for that, like we thank all the four resource persons. Within a short notice, they have joined us, and in fact, like they given their best efforts. And then all the four sessions were really wonderful and illustrative, and then interactive also. And at this point, I would like to thank Sucharita also. Only last, I mean, she also had a very short time to put things together. She did well. I thank Ms. Sucharita also. And probably more than doing a self trumpeting, of course, like this feel comes out of our own satisfaction. But it would be happy if you could just listen one or a couple of feedbacks across the board. There is quite a good feedback in the chat box. Even in the last 4 days, we are getting good feedbacks. In fact, like one or two people were very much present. I can straight away quote Dr. Anupama, whatever, Anupama, I suppose. She was one person who I had observed for all the 4 days. She was there and she was asking questions. She was making it more interactive and very sensible kind of comments. Likewise, there are so many other people possibly we might have missed out. So we'd be really happy to listen a couple of comments from your end across the board, which will really motivate us to take up such programs in future. Any one of you, any one or two people, if you could just come on board.
Participants, you can unmute yourself and give your feedback.
Thank you, ma'am, sir. Thank you for the nice session.
Ma'am, thank you, sir.
Good evening, sir. This is Debarati Mitra. It was really a wonderful session. I have attended it all the 4 days, and it was really enriching. And all the speakers were like too good. And you have coordinated really well. Sucharita ma'am was there, so it was really an enriching experience for all of us, I suppose. Thank you so much.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone. This is Sarmisha Mishra. It was really an enriching session. All the 4 days, I was really enlightened to this and looking forward to many such sessions because, this is a pandemic situation, and when things like this go on, we really feel motivated. And even staying at home, I feel so much connected to the other people around. And this is a very, very informative session that we took this week. And the whole awareness week was so enriching. And looking forward to many positive what can changes in my life always as well, because keeping in touch with you people and getting to know such wonderful things definitely changes your way of thinking and your way of leading life. And as Art of Mind said, when you are happy, you keep the people around you happy. So thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Team Niepid, Sir Mukesh sir and Sucharita ma'am, Alakananda ma'am, everybody. Exemplary work by this team, and I have been attending this past 1 year from this pandemic. Very, very informative sessions been conducted. Very and not only enlightening, it's also need for an hour. They are doing the best in finding the resource persons. Everybody are doing the best. Thank you so much. Please conduct more in future also. Thank you so much, sir. Yeah.
So, thank you very much
you.
for everyone. Yeah, please go on. Anyone wants to say something? I think there was a voice coming up in between. Yeah, fine. So, thank you, everyone. It has been a wonderful feedback. I think like you are really came on board, and there are other people also who were having a similar kind of reviews. So heartfelt thanks to everyone for being always being with us and then patronizing our programs continuously. So thank you everyone, and a few announcements and few procedures will be conducted. I request Ms. Sucharita to uh, go ahead with that. Thank you everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, participants, for such lovely
Thank you,
words.
sir.
Yes, Debjyoti, you want to say something? Thank you, participants, for your enthusiastic participants, and your words really motivate us to move ahead and to come up with others need of the hours like programs which can help us in for our mental health, to promote our mental health. We will
Yes,
definitely.
ma'am. My name is Annapurna. It's not Anupama. It's Annapurna. Yeah.
Yeah, so we will
Thank
look into the matter, and we'll take your feedback, and we will definitely try to fine tune our new programs or next programs. Your feedback matters a lot to us, and thanks for sharing your feedback. And thank you all for being with us for the last 4 days. Like, I never thought like while putting like it's 4 p.m. will be like, yes, when the clock strikes 4 p.m. and my mobiles get filled with messages, ma'am, link, link, link. So I was really happy to have all of you for this 4 days, and it was really a very nice time with you. I spent a very good time with you. I hope that all of you will stay fine, and happy puja and happy Navratri to all of you. The feedback form has been shared in the chat box, and the badge has been released, so you are going to receive your mental health day participation badge, which we would request all of you to make it as a DP or a profile pic, so that we can spread the awareness. Those who have not received will receive it shortly after the program. We are on the process. We request everyone to spread as much as awareness as we can from our level, so that people should not feel that they don't have anyone to listen. The theme for today's World Mental Health Day is mental health in an unequal world. We want to remove that unequal world. We want to have that mental health services is being available to each and everyone. Like, we go for a dental checkup when we have a toothache. So if we are feeling that something is wrong in our heart, in our mind, so we should not hesitate, and we should come up for a counseling or to have a talk with the mental health professions. There is no harm, there is no stigma, there is no taboo. It is us who should welcome people with an open heart and allow them to speak up and have a vent out for what they are suffering for such a long time. This is an eye opener for everyone that we should help people and promote mental health services around the world. So I hope that with this awareness, we were able to make at least a small difference in each and everyone's heart and everyone's mind, and everyone will practice and speak what they have learned from this mental health awareness week. On this note, again, I thank you everyone for your active participation. Thank you. Thanks a lot, and have a nice good night. Bye.
Thank you, man, and happy Durga Puja.